In life, many people think that winning means being better than others, speaking more eloquently, being more skilled, stronger, or always being right. But the longer one lives, the more one realizes that some victories are noisy but unsustainable, while others are quiet but win people's hearts. The ancients said, "Victory lies in harmony," a short saying but containing profound wisdom about how to treat others. Some people don't need to win to be respected. Some people don't strive for victory but always receive support and affection from others. In today's video, we will explore why truly wise people don't win through confrontation, but through harmony. If you enjoy life lessons that help you behave more profoundly and maintain peace in relationships, please subscribe to the Simple Philosophy channel to follow more meaningful content. There are sayings from the ancients that sound short, but the more you reflect on them, the more profound the art of living becomes. Victory lies in harmony is one such saying. In an era where people are easily impatient, quick to react, and quick to win every word, this saying becomes even more thought-provoking. Many believe that winning means being superior, speaking one's mind, and proving oneself right to the very end. But the ancients emphasize something very different. Some victories don't lie in overwhelming someone, but in keeping things from going too far, in preventing rifts in relationships, and in maintaining one's composure. First and foremost, it's important to understand that achieving harmony doesn't mean always being submissive, silent, or accepting every unreasonable thing. This is a point many people easily misunderstand. A superficial understanding might lead people to think that living harmoniously means being overly meek, avoiding conflict, and not daring to defend one's own opinions. But in reality, harmony isn't weakness. Harmony is a very profound form of character. It's the ability to maintain composure, gentleness, and measured behavior even when faced with conflict, differences, or hurt. Those who win through harmony are not emotionless, nor are they ignorant of right and wrong. They still have opinions, boundaries, and know when to speak up. The difference is that they don't let anger control their behavior. They understand that speaking out of spite isn't necessarily the right thing to say. Winning an argument doesn't necessarily mean winning a life. And winning an argument but losing a relationship is often a huge loss. That's why winning peacefully is considered a victory of maturity and wisdom, because immature people are often easily swept up in the feeling of needing to win immediately. They want to react quickly, want to prove themselves wrong, want to protect their ego at all costs. But more mature people understand that not every argument is worth getting involved in. Not everything right needs to be stated harshly, and that being right doesn't give you the right to hurt others. There's a type of person who's very good at reasoning, but makes others tired when around them. They're often right, but nobody finds them pleasant. They win with their words, but lose in people's hearts. Conversely, there are people who don't need to talk much, don't need to overpower anyone, but the way they approach problems earns respect. They know how to say what needs to be said with a gentle attitude. They know how to maintain composure when others lose their temper. They know how to resolve conflicts without cornering the other party. And it is this type of person who often goes the distance in life. The ancients valued harmony, not by chance. They lived in close-knit communities where people could not remain isolated for too long. Family, village, relatives, friends, colleagues were bonds that needed to be maintained with understanding and moderation. The ancients understood very well that human relationships were the foundation of life. No matter how capable a person was, if they caused conflict, hurt others, and created tension wherever they went, their life would be difficult to sustain and find peace. Things can be lost very quickly because of a momentary lapse in harmony. An uncontrolled word can ruin a long-standing relationship. A harsh attitude at a time when someone is hurt can leave a deep rift. A small dispute, if not handled peacefully, can lead to many more serious consequences later on. Our ancestors observed life very carefully, so they understood that maintaining harmony is no small matter. It's the way to prevent precious things from being destroyed by a momentary fit of anger. Conversely, a gentle attitude can resolve many conflicts. There are situations where reacting with tension will only worsen. But maintaining a calm tone and speaking with moderation can quickly de-escalate the situation. Often what makes a conflict bigger isn't the issue itself, but how people react to each other at that moment. The same issue, when presented with respect, is more likely to be listened to. The same feedback, when offered in a gentle manner, is less likely to feel attacked. Harmony, therefore, is not only a beautiful quality, but also a very practical life skill. This is even more evident within families. Countless relationships between spouses, parents, and children. And siblings are eroded not by major issues, but by increasingly discordant ways of communicating. Some people love each other deeply, but because everyone clings to their ego, wants to be right, and insists on having their point at all costs, the distance between them gradually widens. Often, what saves a relationship isn't who's right or wrong, but who has the composure to prevent things from escalating too far. The same applies to the workplace. A person may be highly skilled professionally, but if they lack harmony and the ability to communicate smoothly, they can still easily struggle in a team environment. Working with people is never just about competence. It's also about how you make others feel when collaborating. People who know how to maintain harmony are not only more likely to build trust, but also more likely to resolve conflicts, connect with others, and develop long-term relationships. However, maintaining harmony doesn't mean always giving in to others or swallowing everything. This is a crucial distinction. If harmony is achieved through unprincipled forbearance, silence when wrongdoing occurs, or constantly suffering losses to maintain appearances, then it's no longer mature harmony. It's merely suppression that easily leads to wariness and hurt feelings. True harmony means maintaining both gentleness and principles. It means knowing how to say no without being harsh, knowing how to offer constructive criticism without causing others to lose face, and knowing how to protect one's boundaries while still respecting the other. A truly harmonious person isn't someone who avoids conflict, but someone who knows how to handle conflict without causing unnecessary damage. Ultimately, winning through harmony is a profound way of living. It reminds people that the greatest victory isn't always about outmaneuvering others in a confrontation, but about maintaining good relationships, preserving peace, and preserving lasting foundations in life. Some truths, when expressed in anger, become false. In some competitive situations, striving for victory ultimately leads to no one truly winning. And sometimes knowing when to be a little more yielding, a little slower, and a little more gentle is the wisest way to preserve what truly matters. Perhaps that's why the ancients always considered harmony a blessing, because whoever maintains harmony in their words and in their interactions with others is not only making their own life easier, also creating a more pleasant living space for those around them. And that is a beautiful victory that not everyone is mature enough to understand early on. In life, there are many times when people are swept up in a very strong need to win. Winning in words, winning in arguments, winning in proving oneself right, and winning in preventing others from dominating. This feeling is understandable, because everyone has an ego and everyone wants to be recognized. But the problem is that not every victory is truly worthwhile. Some victories are achieved very quickly, very clearly, and very satisfying in the moment, but leave behind silent losses that last for a long time afterward. And that is precisely what the ancients wanted to emphasize when they valued harmony more than defeat. Winning by being superior to losing is often only a short-term victory, because most confrontations in life don't end with just who's right and who's wrong. They leave behind feelings, impressions, distance, and things that others don't say, but remember for a long time. There are arguments where you completely win. You're right, you have evidence. You're not wrong in your reasoning. But after that conversation, the other person feels pressured, hurt, disrespected, or humiliated. And from there, a crack begins to form in the relationship. This is very common in families, at work, and even in friendships. Some people always want to argue to the very end, to prove themselves right until the very end, to refute arguments so sharply that others can't counter them. They think that this shows courage, strength, and that they won't be outdone. But they don't realize that the more they try to win every small situation, the more tiring it becomes for others to be around them. Because humans don't just live by logic, they also live by emotions and connections. You might be right in an argument, but if your correct approach makes others feel disrespected, then that rightness might not be helpful at all. In fact, it might even damage things far more valuable than who wins or loses in a moment. Winning in a way that emphasizes superiority often only satisfies the ego for a moment. It gives us the feeling that we are not inferior, that we are not looked down upon, that we have said what needed to be said. But that feeling is usually very short-lived. Afterwards, what remains may be a cooling of the relationship, a growing distance between two people, and a feeling of aloofness that others begin to associate with. There are people who win many times in arguments, but gradually become someone few people want to share their true feelings with. Few people want to collaborate with long term, and few people want to be near unless necessary. That's the subtle price of overemphasizing winning and losing. Long-term success isn't determined by who's more sharp-witted in a few exchanges. It's decided by whether others want to continue the journey with you. And this is where harmony demonstrates its immense power. Many people, upon hearing the word harmony, often associate it with weakness, submissiveness, or a lack of assertiveness. But in reality, harmony is an incredibly powerful soft force. It's not loud, imposing, or ostentatious, yet it has the ability to touch people's hearts deeply. People with harmony aren't usually the loudest speakers, nor are they always the ones vying for victory. Instead, they are the ones who make others feel comfortable, want to be close to them, trust them, and cooperate with them. This is a very special kind of influence. There are people whose mere presence lightens the atmosphere, not because they try to please everyone, but because they possess a calm and measured energy. They don't overreact, or they don't react impulsively. They don't escalate things just to assert their ego. They know when to speak up, when to stop, when to stand their ground, and when to soften their stance so things don't go too far. This is what gives them a unique charm that overly rigid people often lack. In the workplace, a person with a harmonious personality tends to have a much more lasting influence than someone who is only assertive. This is because the work environment requires not only competence, but also the ability to make others want to cooperate. An overly aggressive person might earn respect in the short term, but they can easily create pressure and distance. Meanwhile, someone who is gentle yet clear, calm yet principled, tends to gain more trust from the team. They don't need to shout to have a voice. Their demeanor alone is enough to make others listen. It's the same within families. Some people become the pillars of the household not because they're the loudest, but because they maintain the best harmony. They know how to diffuse tensions, how to say difficult things gently, and how to prevent the home from becoming a place where everyone is wary of each other. This calmness isn't a weakness, but a profound strength of someone who understands that maintaining good relationships is more important than always being right. Harmony is also powerful because it helps people go the distance without exhausting themselves. People who live by winning and losing are often very tired. They're always in a state of readiness to react, ready to defend their ego, ready to prove something. This kind of life easily leads to constant mental stress. Conversely, people with a harmonious nature usually have a certain degree of inner peace, not because they don't know the complexities of life, but because they don't let trivial matters drag them into unnecessary battles. Of course, harmony doesn't mean being easily swayed. It's a crucial point to understand. A harmonious person isn't someone who blindly accepts everything anyone says or does. They still have principles, boundaries, and know when to be firm. But the difference is that they don't turn firmness into aggression. They don't retaliate against hurt. They don't see humiliating others as a way to assert themselves. The true strength of harmony lies in being both gentle and firm, moderate yet impactful, and knowing when to yield without losing oneself. It's a very difficult and valuable state to achieve, because those who can do this not only maintain better relationships, but also remain more mature individuals. Ultimately, winning by winning or losing is something anyone can do when emotions run high. But winning through harmony requires true character. It demands overcoming momentary anger, the need to prove one's ego, and looking beyond the immediate feeling of victory or defeat. It requires maturity to understand that sometimes taking a step back isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a way to preserve something more important. Sometimes victory in words isn't necessary, but can lead to a great win in people's hearts. And if we look deeper, we will see that the soft power of harmony is not insignificant. It may not make you stand out immediately, nor give you instant satisfaction, but it helps you build things that are far more enduring. Trust, respect, connection, and an inner peace that prevents you from getting caught up in the petty squabbles of life. That is the profound and beautiful victory that our ancestors wanted to pass on to us. In life, and especially in the workplace, there's something easily observable that not everyone recognizes early on. That is, while ability is important, it's behavior that determines how far a person can go and how many people they can work with. Some people are very skilled, even clearly superior to others in expertise, thinking, and work speed. But ultimately, the person who is trusted, respected, and given more opportunities isn't necessarily the sharpest, but often the one who knows how to maintain harmony better. Imagine a very familiar scenario in modern life. It's in a company. There are two people working in team management positions. Both are intelligent, efficient, and good problem-solving skills. If you only look at their professional performance, they are almost equal. But over time, how they are perceived within the team changes completely. The first type is highly capable but always argumentative. In meetings, they tend to react quickly, readily point out flaws in others' opinions, and always want to prove their point is the most correct. When someone presents an incomplete proposal, instead of offering gentle feedback, they easily become annoyed or use a sharp, cold tone to refute it. They don't accept that others understand things more slowly than they do. They also easily become competitive if they feel their opinions aren't immediately accepted. Initially, many in the company respected them. They were clearly competent. They worked quickly, had a good grasp of problems. They could handle many difficult tasks that others struggled with. But gradually, something insidious began to happen. People started to hesitate to work with them. In meetings, many chose silence over sharing for fear of a harsh reaction. Younger employees didn't dare ask questions when they didn't understand for fear of being seen as incompetent. Colleagues at the same level became wary, as even a small difference could escalate into an unnecessary confrontation. The second person is also very capable, but their approach is completely different. They aren't the most talkative type in the room, nor do they try to win every situation. They listen attentively to others' perspectives before responding. When giving feedback, they get straight to the point but maintain a calm demeanor. If they disagree, they present their arguments clearly, without making the other person feel pressured or disrespected. They don't use their sharp wit to overwhelm others, but rather to clarify issues and help the group reach a better solution. What's remarkable is that this person isn't at all weaker. They still have their own opinions. They still know how to defend their viewpoints when necessary. They still know how to say no to unreasonable things. But they do all of this with a demeanor that makes others feel safe working with them. And that feeling of safety is incredibly valuable in any team. After some time, the results began to become very clear. When there was an important project that needed leadership, superiors often trusted the second person more. Not because the first person was less competent, but because the second person had built greater trust within the team. They made people want to cooperate, share ideas, and work together long-term. Meanwhile, the first person, although still competent, was increasingly becoming the type of person that others only worked with when absolutely necessary. This story reveals a profound truth. In life, the person who is trusted and respected more isn't always the one who wins the most arguments, but often the one who makes others feel more comfortable working with them. Because people need to work not only with talented people, but also with people who, when around them, don't make them feel constantly tense, defensive, or wary. That's also why people who lack harmony as a Lee make things difficult for themselves. Many people don't realize this because they often only look at their own inner motives. They think they're just being straightforward, just defending what's right, just doing their job seriously. But what's important isn't just what you think of yourself, but also how others perceive you when they interact with you. A hot-tempered person who enjoys arguing and always wants to win verbally often tires others out quickly. Even if they are capable, this type of interaction makes others constantly wary. And when people are overly cautious of someone, they naturally distance themselves. They become less likely to share their true feelings, open up to new ideas, or build connections. In doing so, a person lacking harmony inadvertently closes many doors that they could otherwise have opened. This is especially evident in the workplace. Many opportunities don't come simply because you're skilled, but because others want to work with you. Some leadership positions aren't given to the most technically proficient, but to the person who can create stability and trust within the team. Some major collaborations don't go to the sharpest, but to the person who makes their partners feel more secure. Valuable relationships can be broken because one person is too hot-tempered and overly competitive, even if they aren't inherently bad. In fact, people who lack harmony not only make it difficult for external relationships, but also make things difficult for themselves internally. A lifestyle that's always reactive, easily provoked, and always wanting to win is exhausting, keeps the mind constantly stressed. Such people easily feel challenged, easily get annoyed when someone disagrees, and easily become angry when things don't go their way. And living in that state for a long time, they become not only difficult to approach, but also difficult to find peace. Conversely, those who know how to maintain harmony often possess a profound strength that not everyone immediately recognizes. They don't need to prove themselves excessively, because their mere presence is enough to create influence. They may not win every argument, but they win people's hearts. They may not silence people with fear, but they inspire others to listen willingly out of respect. And that is a far more enduring kind of prestige than simply being good at winning or losing in small situations. Of course, maintaining harmony doesn't mean pleasing everyone or avoiding conflict altogether. Those who truly know how to maintain harmony still sometimes need to be firm. They still need to offer counter-arguments. They still need to defend their principles. But the difference is that they don't do these things with unnecessary harshness. They understand that defending what is right and maintaining public good are not always contradictory. With sufficient maturity, a person can absolutely do both. Ultimately, the story of two equally talented individuals with different approaches is a very practical lesson for anyone aiming for long-term success in life. Competence can get you noticed, but harmony is what earns you trust, companionship, and lasting opportunities. If you are only talented but lack harmony, your sharp intellect may silently cost you the most valuable things. And perhaps, a person's greatest victory isn't making others silent in their presence, but making them feel secure when they're with them. That's the profound and lasting victory that truly mature individuals understand. In life, there's a very common but also very harmful misconception. Many people believe that being gentle is weakness, that yielding means losing, and that maintaining peace shows a lack of courage to confront challenges. Because of this thinking, many unconsciously see harshness as strength, quick reactions as personality traits, and refusal to compromise as a sign of character. But if you carefully observe truly mature and steadfast people, you'll see the opposite. Harmony is not weakness. It's a very deep form of strength that not everyone possesses. People who are easily angered are often more noticeable because their reactions are strong, quick, and attention-grabbing. But what attracts attention isn't always admirable. Some people react immediately to even the slightest hurt in their pride. A small misunderstanding can trigger a heated argument. A simple disagreement can change their expression and make their words harsh. On the surface, they appear tough and strong. But in reality, this is often a sign of an inner self still easily swayed by emotions. Conversely, those who maintain composure in difficult situations are the ones with true inner strength. Staying calm when misunderstood is not easy. When wrongly judged, people easily feel hurt and want to react immediately to defend themselves. Maintaining moderation when one's pride is hurt is also not simple, as the ego often reacts strongly when provoked. Remaining kind in difficult circumstances is something even fewer people can do. When tired, stressed, or disappointed, people are most likely to abandon kindness first. Therefore, those who remain calm in such situations are not weak. They are demonstrating a great deal of character. True strength of character isn't about saying whatever you want or reacting however you please. True strength of character is about having emotions but not letting them control you. It's about knowing you're angry but not turning that anger into hurtful words. It's about knowing you're hurt but not acting rashly because of it. It's about knowing you're right but not resorting to aggression to prove it. These things require far greater inner strength than simply reacting instinctively. Truly strong people are those who don't let their emotions control them. They aren't emotionless, nor are they incapable of feeling pain. They still feel sadness, anger, and disappointment, just like anyone else. But the difference is their ability to restrain themselves at the right moment. They understand that a moment of anger can ruin everything they've worked so hard to build. They understand that emotions are real, but not all emotions should be allowed to control them. And it is this self-control that forms the foundation of harmony. This becomes even more important within the family, because if there is one place where harmony truly determines the quality of life, it is the home. In the family, people are closest to each other, interact most frequently, and are also most likely to hurt each other. Because of familiarity, people sometimes forget how to maintain moderation with the people they love most. We may be very polite to strangers, but easily raise our voices at family members. We may be very patient with colleagues, but lose our temper with our spouse, parents, or children. And that is why harmony in the family is not a small matter. It is the foundation of lasting peace and security. In a family, right and wrong aren't always the most important things. This is a truth worth reflecting on. There are arguments where, logically speaking, someone is completely right. But if you insist on pushing things to the very end, just to determine who's right and who's wrong, the price you pay can sometimes be a cooling of affection. Sometimes, what a family needs isn't a courtroom to determine who's right and who's wrong, but a calm atmosphere where everyone still wants to sit down together. Just one person knowing when to hold back, when to lower their voice, when tensions rise, and when to listen when others are angry, can save many situations from escalating. This isn't defeat, this is a profound form of maturity. In a family, those who maintain harmony are often protecting things more important than their own ego. They understand that a harsh word spoken in anger can have lasting repercussions. They understand that wounds in a home don't stem from major issues, but from instances where words cross the line. Many homes don't fall apart because of major events, but because of a lack of harmony in the small things of daily life. A persistently unpleasant tone, a habit of reacting harshly, a way of speaking that always wants to be superior, unwillingness to listen. If all of these things are repeated long enough, they will make the atmosphere in the house heavy. People still live together, still fulfill their responsibilities, but the feeling of peace and warmth gradually disappears. And when a home no longer has harmony, it easily becomes a place to live rather than a place to return to. Conversely, there are families that, while not without differences or conflicts, maintain their stability because there are people within the household who know how to maintain harmony. They understand that sometimes taking a step back is necessary to avoid further hurt. They know that a moment of silence is better than saying something hurtful. They understand that listening to each other during moments of anger is more important than proving who is right. These qualities create a home that can heal rather than exhaust each other. Harmony in the family is also a very profound way of raising children. Children learn not only from words, but also from the atmosphere in which they grow up. A child living in a home filled with shouting, competition, and tension will absorb that into their perspective on love, communication, and the world. Conversely, a child growing up in a harmonious environment will learn to speak more gently, listen more attentively, and feel safer being themselves. Therefore, maintaining harmony in the family is not just about keeping things peaceful in the present, but also about sowing a beautiful seed for future generations. Of course, maintaining harmony doesn't mean swallowing everything or remaining silent in the face of wrongdoing. The same applies within families. If there are problems, they still need to be discussed. But the difference lies in how we speak. Speaking to understand each other is different from speaking to win. Offering constructive criticism is different from criticizing to vent anger. Harmony doesn't require people to avoid conflict entirely, but rather to know how to handle conflict without destroying what is precious. Ultimately, harmony isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of someone strong enough not to be led astray by ego and emotions. And in a family, it's an even more precious strength. Because not everyone can make their home more peaceful simply by lowering their voice at the right time. It's listening a little more and reducing their competitiveness. Perhaps true strength isn't about making others fall silent in your presence, but about making your loved ones feel safe and secure. And if someone can achieve that within their own family, that's already a profound and beautiful victory. In adulthood, there's one thing everyone who starts working quickly realizes: success doesn't just come from professional competence, but also from how people work together. Some people are very skilled, hardworking, and responsible, yet still face difficulties simply because they don't know how to maintain harmony in a team environment. Conversely, some people aren't always the most outstanding, but they go very far because they possess an invaluable ability, knowing how to handle situations in a way that resolves issues without causing too much hurt. Therefore, achieving harmony at work is a very practical lesson. The workplace is always filled with conflict, differences, and pressure. This is unavoidable. Each person has their own personality, perspective, way of doing things, and ego. When working together in a team, disagreements, misunderstandings, fatigue due to deadlines, or frustration with coordination are inevitable. Without the ability to maintain harmony, these ordinary conflicts can easily escalate into personal strife. When that happens, not only does the work become more difficult, but the atmosphere also becomes much more tense. Many people think that maintaining harmony in the workplace means avoiding confrontation, remaining silent, and not daring to speak frankly. But that's not entirely true. Those who know how to maintain harmony aren't those who avoid issues. They still speak up, offer suggestions, and offer constructive criticism when necessary. However, they know how to communicate tactfully, offer constructive feedback appropriately, and avoid turning differences in work into confrontations between individuals. This is a crucial skill, yet it's often underestimated. Many people focus too much on what they say and forget that how they say it is equally important. The same feedback, if delivered in a harsh, critical, or intimidating tone, is likely to provoke a negative reaction or cause the listener to shut down. Conversely, if presented clearly, respectfully, and at the right time, it's much more receptive. In the workplace, effectiveness comes not only from being right, but also from delivering that right information in a way that others can understand and accept. People who maintain a harmonious work environment are usually very good at distinguishing between tasks and people. They may disagree with a method, but they don't resort to attacking people. They may see a problem, but they don't use it to humiliate others in front of the group. They understand that everyone makes mistakes, everyone has shortcomings, and the important thing is to fix the problem without damaging the relationship. This is a very important form of wisdom in the modern workplace. In reality, in any group, those who know how to maintain harmony are always highly valuable. They help to ease tension when pressure builds. They make conversations more pleasant, make others feel safer working with them, knowing that even with differing viewpoints, they will not be treated disrespectfully. And this feeling of security is a crucial foundation for a team to work effectively in the long term. Some people are highly skilled professionals, but their overly sharp, hot-tempered, or competitive nature causes them to lose many opportunities. Superiors may recognize their abilities, but hesitate to entrust them with leadership roles. Colleagues may acknowledge their good work, but are not truly willing to work with them long-term. Conversely, those with a harmonious personality are far more trusted. When important tasks need to be assigned, people need not only someone capable of doing the job, but also someone who can maintain team cohesion, ensure coordination, and prevent further disruption. This is especially true as one rises to higher positions. At higher levels of work, professional skills remain important. But the ability to maintain harmony and manage people becomes even more crucial. A leader is not just someone who knows the job, but also someone who knows how to keep the team from falling apart due to unnecessary conflicts. Such a person is often not the loudest speaker, but rather someone who knows how to make others want to sit down together to solve problems. Not only in the workplace, but achieving harmony is also a huge advantage in social relationships. Some people easily connect with others wherever they go, readily build rapport, and receive support when needed. This isn't because they're superficially flattering or skilled at socializing, simply because their way of treating others makes them feel respected and comfortable. Everyone enjoys being around people who make them feel at ease. No one truly wants to be around someone who constantly creates pressure, reacts unpredictably, or makes them feel constantly on guard. Conversely, a person with a harmonious disposition tends to make others more willing to open up. They know how to listen, they know how to speak appropriately, and maintain a kind attitude even when disagreeing. And that's what creates a lasting sense of goodwill. In social life, goodwill and trust sometimes open doors that one's own abilities alone may not be enough to open. Opportunities arise not because you are the best, but because others feel most comfortable working with you. Help comes not because you asked for it, but because people appreciate your character and are willing to assist when needed. Strong relationships aren't built on perfect compatibility, but because at least one party knows how to maintain harmony so that differences don't escalate into rifts. The most beautiful thing about people who are sociable is that they don't need to try to please everyone, yet they still win people's hearts. They aren't the type to always agree to please everyone. They still have their own opinions, their own boundaries, and they know how to say no. But the way they express themselves doesn't make others feel offended. That's why they often receive natural support from those around them. not because they are manipulative, but because they are pleasant enough that others want to treat them well. Of course, maintaining harmony doesn't mean losing oneself to please society. If understood that way, it's easy to fall into a life of forced compliance and exhaustion. True harmony means knowing how to maintain composure while upholding principles. It means being flexible in expression, but not to the point of losing one's stance. It means respecting others without forgetting to respect oneself. When this state is achieved, people not only find it easier to live in a group, but also experience a much lighter inner state. Ultimately, winning through harmony in work and social relationships is a profound kind of victory that many only understand after experiencing enough setbacks. Because at some point, people realize that not everyone who wins in small arguments is necessarily a winner in life. True winners are often those who go far while maintaining relationships, trust, and valuable connections. And to achieve that, harmony is not a weak choice. It is a very valuable life skill, quiet but enduring strength that helps people not only solve problems, but also preserve what is far more important after each of life's challenges. Maintaining harmony is something everyone values, but not everyone knows how to cultivate it. Many people think that harmony is an innate trait. Those who are gentle easily achieve it, while those who are hot-tempered find it difficult. But in reality, harmony is not just a personality trait. It's a life skill that can be cultivated if a person is self-aware and persistent enough. And thankfully, just a few changes in how we speak, listen, and react can make many relationships in life much smoother. To cultivate harmony in communication, one must first understand a crucial point. Most conflicts in life don't begin with ill intentions, but rather with how people react to each other when emotions run high. Some things could be discussed normally, but heated arguments arise. Misunderstandings could be resolved, but hurt feelings lead to harsh words. Relationships could be maintained, but everyone reacts too quickly, pushing things further apart. Therefore, to maintain harmony, we need not only a kind heart but also conscious communication. One of the first and most important methods is to practice speaking more slowly when you're angry. This sounds simple, but in reality, it's very difficult, because when emotions run high, people often want to speak immediately, to vent, to react, to prove something, or to defend themselves. But it is in those moments that words are most likely to go beyond acceptable limits. Many hurtful words don't stem from a bad nature, but from a moment when one can't control themselves. Speaking more slowly isn't about avoiding the issue, but about allowing emotions time to settle so reason can return. Just a few seconds of delay can change the tone of voice. Just a slight pause can transform a harsh statement into a more palatable one. And sometimes those few seconds can save a relationship from an unnecessary rift. A person with a calm demeanor isn't someone who never gets angry, but someone who knows how to prevent anger from controlling their words. Besides speaking more slowly, another crucial habit is listening more before responding. Many people don't truly listen to understand, but only to prepare their counterarguments. While others are speaking, they already have a series of responses in their heads to defend themselves or to point out where the other person is wrong. This type of listening doesn't solve problems. It only turns the conversation into a battle of wits. True listening is giving others the opportunity to say everything they want to say before you jump to conclusions. Often, simply listening to a whole story can make your initial reaction seem unnecessary. Sometimes others don't need immediate agreement. They just need to feel heard. And when people feel listened to, they tend to soften, become less defensive, and are much more cooperative. Another profound method for fostering harmony is to practice putting yourself in the other person's shoes before drawing conclusions. This is difficult because human nature tends to view things from one's own emotions and perspective. When someone hurts us, it's easy to only see our own discomfort and forget that the other person may also be experiencing pressure, hurt, or limitations that we don't fully understand. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes doesn't mean unconditionally defending them or denying your own feelings. It's simply a way to avoid extreme reactions and broaden your perspective. When you understand that the other person might be tired, worried, scared, or insecure in their own way, you'll find it easier to choose a gentler, wiser approach that's more likely to maintain harmony. Just a slight shift in perspective can significantly change how you react. Furthermore, those who want to foster harmony also need to learn to recognize when it's best not to continue the conversation. The truth doesn't always need to be stated immediately, especially during moments of heightened emotion. There are issues where continuing the debate when both parties are heated only makes things worse. Knowing when to stop, allowing the conversation to pause, and waiting until the atmosphere calms down before continuing is a clear sign of maturity in communication. However, many people worry that being too accommodating will lead to losing their own stance. This is a very real concern, as many have been misunderstood as being easily manipulated because they are agreeable. But in reality, being accommodating doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. This is something that needs to be clearly understood if you don't want to fall into the trap of pleasing others and end up suffering yourself. You can absolutely say no and still maintain harmony. You can absolutely stand your ground without hurting anyone. The key lies in how you say it. Many people think that to maintain a firm stance, you have to be tough, sharp, and decisive to the point that others dare not approach you further. But in reality, a strong stance doesn't necessarily require a harsh tone. Some people can speak calmly, clearly, and concisely, and everyone understands that they are not easily swayed. For example, instead of saying irritably, "I disagree," you could say, "I understand your point, but my perspective is different." Instead of reacting emotionally in an unreasonable way, you could say, "I don't think this approach is appropriate for what we're trying to achieve." Just a slight change in wording maintains the same message, but significantly reduces conflict. That's the art of maintaining harmony without losing your own self. Truly principled people don't need to prove themselves by winning or losing. They don't need to silence others to feel secure. They're clear-headed enough internally not to raise their voices externally. Therefore, they can maintain a gentle demeanor without being bland. They are soft in their expression, but firm in their principles. This is a highly valuable quality that everyone should strive for. In reality, the way we speak greatly determines whether a problem is resolved or escalates. Some conflicts aren't significant enough to cause a breakdown, but words can easily lead to irreparable damage. Conversely, deep differences can still be resolved amicably because one side knows how to maintain harmony to prevent the situation from turning into a personal confrontation. Ultimately, harmony isn't something far-fetched or overly idealistic. It begins with small changes in daily communication. Slow down a little when you're angry. Listen a little more before reacting. Think a little more before concluding. And say things differently when you need to stand your ground. These small things, if practiced consistently, will gradually change the quality of many relationships around us. And perhaps the best communicator isn't the one who always wins the argument. It's the one who knows how to speak in a way that preserves what they need to preserve while not losing the precious bonds between people. That is the profound and lasting skill that harmony brings to life. In life, there's one thing that becomes clearer the more you experience, the more talented you are. The further you go, and the more eloquent you are, the more people you win. Some people are very skilled, quick-witted, and sharp, yet their lives are often fraught with difficulties in relationships. Meanwhile, some people aren't particularly outstanding. They don't always get the upper hand in conversations or attract attention, but they are always well-liked, supported, and desired as long-term companions. The difference often lies not in talent, but in harmony. This is a very practical lesson for anyone living, working, and interacting with others every day. In life, there are people who are very talented but cannot go far because of a lack of harmony. They may be excellent professionals, sharp-witted, and able to see problems faster than others. But if they are constantly accompanied by feelings of pressure, judgment, oppression, or the need to be on guard, then no matter how capable they are, others will gradually keep their distance. Many people don't realize this because they often view life in terms of short-term results. They see someone win an argument, gain recognition for their sharp wit, or impress with their strong counter-arguments, and think that's a huge advantage. But that advantage, if not accompanied by harmony, can easily become a double-edged sword. Because life's path isn't determined solely by how often you outperform others. It's also determined by how many people truly want to continue walking alongside you. Some people are very talented, but become increasingly isolated over time. It's not because they're bad people, but because their behavior tires others out. They're competitive, easily react strongly, and easily make others feel inferior or disrespected. Initially, people might admire their abilities. But over time, that admiration isn't enough to maintain closeness or a desire for companionship. And when a person can't keep people close, many opportunities in life silently close off. Conversely, there are people who aren't particularly outstanding, but are always well liked and supported because they know how to behave appropriately. They don't need to be the best in the room, but they are the ones who make others feel most comfortable working with them. They don't need to win every argument, but they are the ones who resolve conflicts without causing too much hurt. They don't need to show off their intelligence, but the way they speak, listen, and react demonstrates a clear maturity. These are the kinds of people who are quietly favored by life, not because they're trying to please anyone, but because their way of life makes others want to treat them well. When they need help, people are ready to help. When they face difficulties, people are easily inclined to support them. When they enter a new environment, they often easily gain goodwill and trust. All of this is not accidental. It stems from a very deep, but often overlooked ability, knowing how to behave in a way that both protects oneself and avoids making others feel uncomfortable in their presence. Ultimately, what keeps people together isn't winning or losing, but the pleasant feeling of being in each other's presence. This is perhaps one of the most important truths in any relationship. People may greatly admire someone, but they may not necessarily want to be around that person long term. People may acknowledge someone's wisdom, but they may not want to continue sharing or collaborating if every interaction is filled with tension. People are always drawn to places where they feel safe, respected, and able to be themselves. In friendships, family, work, or any relationship, what binds people together isn't who always wins, but who creates a comfortable and peaceful atmosphere. And to create that feeling, harmony is an almost indispensable element. That doesn't mean being gentle is enough. Harmony isn't about pleasing everyone, nor is it about living a bland life to avoid conflict. True harmony is a beautiful combination of strength and moderation. It's knowing when to say what needs to be said without hurting others excessively. It's knowing how to maintain your viewpoint without turning differences into confrontation. It's knowing when to be firm, but not letting that firmness become harshness in your interactions with others. Therefore, winning through harmony is a profound life lesson. It's not just advice to live peacefully, to avoid trouble, but a very wise and practical philosophy of life. Wise people don't need to win by making others lose, because they understand that such victories are often short-lived. The price paid is often the loss of people's hearts, trust, and valuable relationships. Truly wise people choose a different way to win. They win by winning people's hearts, maintaining respect, and preserving a healthy atmosphere so that relationships can endure. They understand that in some arguments, trying to win at all costs ultimately leads to no one truly succeeding. There are situations where having an edge but causing further hurt to others isn't necessarily something to be proud of. Winning through harmony is also a victory for oneself. Those who know how to maintain harmony tend to live much more peacefully. They don't get caught up in petty disputes or carry excessive resentment over insignificant conflicts. They don't let momentary emotions ruin their long-term peace. They know what's worth holding on to, what's worth letting go of, and what doesn't need to be won at all costs. It's a way of life that is both profound and beautiful, because it not only helps people live more harmoniously with others, but also helps them live more peacefully with themselves. In a world full of competition, egos, and pressure, maintaining harmony is actually a great ability. It helps people go far without being alone, while preserving their own integrity without hurting too many people around them. Ultimately, a person's true value lies not just in how many times they've won in arguments or wit. It also lies in what they leave behind in the hearts of others after those encounters. Is it heaviness or comfort? Distance or trust? Scar or a feeling of respect? And if I had to choose one truly worthwhile victory in life, perhaps winning in harmony is one of the most beautiful, because it is a lasting, sustainable victory. Deep enough to preserve things that ordinary competition can never buy: human kindness, peace, and healthy relationships that allow us to journey through life together.